Welcome back, everybody. What a lovely day to be recording this podcast with friends. I'm Jalen Holston. Welcome back to another episode of Poi and Soy Team Huddle. With me, as always, is Jared Shirai, Keone McKeague, and Nolan Chang. How are we doing today, boys?
We're doing well. It's Sunday. For those who are unaware, this is
Yeah. Easter Sunday. It's a good time. Anybody go do some egg hunts, or are we all too old? We don't have any nieces and nephews. We didn't do any family activities. God, we are.
The way you asked that, it was like, did you do that?
Did you?
No. Zero.
It's just one of those cut shots and you just feel shoving kids out of the way. You don't even like
Like
it.
100 baskets behind him, like filled with like eggs.
I got one basket in each hand. I'm just
You got
using
a
like
kid running next to him. Come with me, I'll share something to split with you.
Well, amped because I saw John Wick 4 finally. But anyway,
Yes.
Back to the good old show. Let's do some weekly check-ins with our esteemed coaches on the panel. Nolan, I'll start with you. How was your week of coaching? Are you getting back into it now a little bit? with the back
Actually,
and all that?
I did do some just communications, got in preparation for the boys season to start back up. We took our club usually does like a week of spring break officially.
Right.
So this was the week for spring break, so it wasn't really too much going on. We're going to kick things back up next Sunday. I'll have to double check to see if it's next Sunday that we're starting, or because normally we'd have a Thursday practice, so not sure why they sent me that date, which is later. So maybe. So may not have too much going on by next check-in for Team Huddle. But I did meet a lot of our old friends and teammates last night at another teammate's wedding. Always good to kind of talk, chat, catch up, talk about the old times. Guarantee, and it did happen. Mike D'Alessandro voice came out for multiple people. It was great. It was fantastic. It was a good time.
Get to your quick spot!
And a beautiful wedding.
If you know, you
Congratulations
know,
to
guys.
Shane and his new wife, Leanne.
Yes, congratulations to my setting senpai, Mr. Shane Beatty. Yes, right over to you, Jared. How was your week of coaching? How you liking life? All that good stuff.
It's all right. No, we took some L's this week as far as like league play. We played Servite and Modern Day this week.
Oh,
but there was,
mother of God.
It was pretty good games. Servite game was kind of meh, and then the Modern Day game we actually should have taken care of business. Got spanked the first set, started playing better. We played well in the second. We were up in the third, just lost it 25-23. And then you know how that swing set changes set 4, but you know they did well. I had a tournament yesterday. I was there from like 7 to like 6 p.m. finishing second.
Oh.
But tell me why, and this might be another whole like discussion. Tell me why in a gold medal, like final match, the championship match, you have one top ref.
Yo, that's why.
And all the other games are done. And you have an actual referee who was kind of like overseeing the tournament and like doing the scores.
It was lunchtime, Jared.
And he's walking around. Dude, it was like 5 o'clock when we started this match.
It's
or
dinner
4:30.
time, bro.
I know, just let him eat a
started this
sandwich. Gosh.
Oh, no, he was in there walking around, and I'm like, bruh, how do you not have a bot? And so we were up, and then it was on match point for them. Run a 2-ball, fattest net. Like, the net is shaking.
Yeah.
And everybody's yelling, or like, boys are like, just like keep playing, you know, it's game point, but, it was just like fuel to the fire.
Like
Plus,
you would have found Nemo and Dory in that net, huh?
Yeah. You would have found Bruce would have been in that net too, bro. Trust me. You would have. But I'm just saying, like, I mean, like on a championship game, gold medal, you know, it's like you're playing for the championship. You want it to just be well done. And yeah. But I mean, we learned that we talked about it at the end of it, though. That was probably the best we've played all season, the most we've looked like a team all season. So this tournament really helped our team chemistry going into our last 2 league games and then our CIF run. So, funny story though, Nolan. Not this Monday, but the following Monday we play Shane.
Oh, okay.
On senior
Spicy
night.
one.
On senior night, so.
Because I was asking him, I was like, hey, you doing club anymore? He's like, nah, man, I had to get all this crap set up. he's like, but I'm going to join them back for junior nationals. I think he's doing AAU, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody's deferring, right? So,
yeah.
Yeah.
It was a good week. And then we're off Friday, and we're off tomorrow just because it is Easter weekend. And, I went to coach at Orange Lutheran. So
there you go.
They see that. So tomorrow's going to be a kind of mellow day too. So all day ranked, Nolan.
That's what I heard.
Keone.
That's what I heard. Keone, I know you're retired, but how was your week? You know what I mean? Did you have any revelations about life?
Like I mentioned last week, we're getting into shipyard season. So
did you start yet?
Yeah, boy, do I got a story for you.
Sorry, there we go.
Oh no.
So
what's your definition of start?
We
Right.
had
showed up.
our first game last Tuesday, and last year this team that we played. So, just a little bit of context. All the teams are like the different departments within the work area, right? So, this department specifically last year had a much older group of players. They were mostly what we would call aunties or uncles. So it was when we saw the team on the schedule, we were like, oh, right on. Warm up game, let's do this damn thing. We get there and immediately I was just like, that's not the same team. Who are those people? And they have a lot younger, a lot more physically fit people on that side.
I can guarantee. And he was like, who is the...
So I was kind of sitting there like,
wait a second.
what?
Wait a minute.
What's
Wait,
going
didn't you
on?
play at UH last year?
And so one found out that I think two of them played at Kahuku like not long ago, which is, for everybody who knows, Kahuku down here, women's volleyball is pretty damn prominent. And then we had like two other players who were also players. So we're like sitting there, I'm looking at my team and I'm like, I'm literally the only one who played any sort of volleyball in high school and or college.
Organized.
So, yeah, organized. So I'm like sitting there like, well, we had a good run, boys and girls. Like we didn't even start the season.
Got a lot
yet.
of this.
Oh boy, yeah.
No, there's a lot of
because
this.
last
There's
year,
a lot of
like
protect your face, bro.
my whole thing was like my bread and butter was going to be we just keep drives alive. We're not a finisher team because it's kind of hard to even get the ball to me sometimes. Like I'm like sitting there waiting for a set, it doesn't get to me, and I'm just like, all right, we'll just keep the ball alive.
It's okay.
So that was our thing, but nope, this
5 points
team,
later.
the girls.
It's still good. No
I think
worries.
one girl went on like a 12-0 run. I'm in the front row. She's just serving my back row like over and over and over and over. And I'm just like, well, this was fun. But yeah, so we got smashed and I had practice on Friday with everybody. And yeah, that didn't go well either. So this is going to be a rough season for sure. It's funny because one of my other coworkers was kind of like, you need to start just like putting down the hammer. I'm like, first of all, this is intramural volleyball. Like this is intramurals. I don't know why we're taking it that seriously. Second of all, at least half the team was drunk. So I mean, how
what were you
serious are
really
we taking
expecting?
this?
So we are putting up the
But either way, I'm trying to go back to real, like all the way back to basics. I think like I had like set a lineup and I was kind of saying like, oh yeah, we'll do this. And in my head, it makes a lot of sense, volleyball mind and all that. But then I realized later, I'm like, oh, I need to communicate like this is like 4th grade starting all over volleyball, like back to legit basics. So
I really
we're
want you
working
to
on
have-
that for
I
this
want you
week.
to have that like longest yard moment where it's like you're gonna set up a lineup and they're gonna be like, "Why do I have to play middle? You just hit a ball, pass this, and change it." That's why I gotta sit down and shut up.
No, legit. It's funny because one of my coworkers was like, I told him, "You're gonna play front row." He's like, "Why? You don't think I can pass?" And I was just like, "No, I don't think you can serve." He's like, "I can serve," and he like goes to the back line, legit just shanks it like 50 yards to the right. And I was just like, "That's exactly why you're not. That's why you're not serving."
You just showed me why
You literally
I did what I
just-
said.
See, I got
Thankfully
into the
with-
other court.
Thankfully, it is like that where it's adults, so it's not like I'm really like, I can be like as harsh as I want with them.
He's like, you're right, my bad.
Yeah, good times.
Oh man, sounds like a great time.
It's going to be so fun.
So much fun.
Season.
We're gonna have stories every week. I love it.
Oh my god, man. Oh, pretty good week for myself. I think our JV team had a tournament yesterday. Didn't quite do as well as I thought they were going to do, to be honest, but it still did pretty solid. They took like 4th, I think, overall. They at least got out of their bracket and their pool or whatever. So that was nice. And then Thursday night, the varsity boys did some crazy, crazy stuff on my end. So the Hound North was a team in my area. After I graduated high school, they got a new coach. And then the last 5-6 years, she's built like a really, really solid program over there. We hadn't beaten them since I think 2019, 2018, something like that. And at the current juncture, we're basically 500 in league. They've only lost 1 game in league. And the other team that they beat, we still have to play again. So this game that we headed into Thursday was kind of like do or die. We're in a spot where we can't drop another conference game, essentially, if you want to win the conference championship or whatever. And for them, I think they thought that it was going to be a rollover because last year, this group of juniors I have right now were all sophomores and babies, and I threw them in there at their house last year. So I think they thought, surely they didn't get any better with a year's time.
No, that's not possible, right?
Then, of course, we add some new pieces.
So your team was the Antis team in my story.
It was, yes. Just all babies. So, yeah, they went in there and they just did the thing. They got them in 4, damn near got them in 3.
Hey.
And, the looks on the other team's face, you could just tell, they did not think that this game was going to be the way that it was. Especially the first set, because I'm everybody's standing on the court for lineup check, right? My libero, Lil Freshie, is just chilling. I'm not paying attention to much because I'm just I thought we were good. Got the lineups out there. Right, I'm kind of looking at their lineup, seeing what row they're in, all that kind of stuff. And then I just go check in on him and give him a little dap up, kind of gas him up like I do all my liberos and stuff. This man is having a full-on panic attack. He is shaking, he is crying. And I'm like, okay,
damn,
buddy.
Coach, what did you do?
Dude, I had to do a full crisis intervention at the end of, in between sets 1 and 2. Because, dude was actually just he got himself so worked up for whatever reason, because teenagers are teenagers and hormones are funny sometimes, I guess. But yeah, so I got him off the court. And then my senior middle's like, what's he doing? What is he doing? I gotta get off. What are we doing? So then I had to play 90s ball, and I was just like, shut up, Mason. Get in there, Steven. Go sub him out.
There's always a Mason.
It is.
I have a Mason. It's always a Mason.
I swear. So I had to play 90s ball the first set, and we squeaked it out 25-20. But, the whole match, everybody's just, looking for my little Freshie libero, who's been an absolute stud this year. But then kind of managed it. Second set, we went back with our old libero. He was an outside.
Was there
now
a
this year
reason, or it was just put too much on himself during the game?
On himself. He felt like the game was too big, and the pressure was on him, and he just kind of got it all worked up in his head. And I'm like, I'm sitting there thinking back to myself, 2 weeks ago, we played a team called the Webster Groves. They're really, really good. And we played them at their house because we were at the tournament that they were hosting. And in that game, whenever everybody found out it was us playing in this kind of the last match of the day, people are starting to leave, but the match got so good that basically their entire right half of their bleachers ended up full from other teams watching the game. So in his mind, I guess that this was the biggest game that we had ever played in on Thursday. And so he said that there's so many people here, this isn't club. And I was like, I understand your logic, but also there is 100% more people at a club tournament. But keep going, bud. I get it. Keep. But
they're not
you're
watching
saying.
him, man.
I know. Yeah, so I felt terrible. That poor guy just was not with it. But eventually he was able to come back and sit on the bench with us and get rowdy for the game and all that. And I just kind of kept checking in. I was like, do you feel like you can go? I mean, Mike's holding it down, but like if you feel like you're good, like you can go back in. I'm not gonna I don't care. And he's like, no, not today. I'm like, okay, cool.
Do you want to play in college?
Yeah, right.
Hey, man, yeah.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, I was gonna say that's crazy. I don't
Just
know
do me
if
a
I've
favor
ever
after
had
the
that
game. Just make sure you
experience
turn in your jersey and your shorts. And
Right,
thanks
yeah.
thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, I also had a kid quit on me this week. That was crazy. Yeah.
wow.
The work thing. It was the work thing. He just was
Oh,
like,
that
hey.
guy. Gotcha.
Yeah. He's,
That guy.
He's just like,
Did
hey,
he hear our
yeah.
episode? Is that what?
I think that's what. I think exactly what happened. He had to have heard the episode.
Hey, I heard Nolan say go to prom, and I was like, I'm gonna go to prom, man.
Man.
Was he an integral part of your lineup? I guess.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. Like he is a phenomenal freshman, but like our guy that is playing our O2 spot
sorry,
is
I
more of
meant
a
the-
ball control guy.
Oh, the guy that quit on you.
The guy that
He could have been. I think
Oh.
he was one of our reserve players this year coming in, but we're like, we liked the upside potentially of him front row. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, hey, if you're not here, can't really do much for you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So he felt like that. His other stuff had priority, so he wanted to go do that. And I was like, hey, bro, no scratch off my back. Whenever we have practice, come by, drop off your stuff, and it's all good. But Nichole, hello.
she said Happy Easter, but I was muted.
Appa, get out.
Get out of there.
Sorry, what?
Oh, man. But, gentlemen, let's get into today's topic and maybe another one towards the end, depending on time, of course.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the process that coaches go through when they are either changing programs or looking into getting, that whole process of going from one place to another. Because I think there's a lot of different elements to it. First of all, when do you guys as coaches get that feeling of like, I think it's time to move on, or like you feel like your work is at its highest that it can go? We'll start with maybe somebody that has the most experience in volleyball, not for any particular reason, but Jared, if you would like to.
Someone who is wise
first.
beyond his years. His many, many, many,
Many
years.
years.
Did you skip a many?
God.
Many
years.
years.
I plead the fifth.
Wow. Shut down.
So you want to know like when it's time to move on?
When do you as a coach feel like, some coaches need to go, sometimes you just, some people can stay there forever, or like, when you make that transition, what's a sign that you would look for if you were in that spot of like, hey, I think it's time to move on, or it's time to change venues?
I mean, I think mostly it's if you love what you're doing at that school. A lot of it is like this, and I think people talk about it in that way is if you're getting supported.
Yeah.
I'll just come out and say it. Like at Hope, volleyball was not an important sport. So if you look at it, I mean, we were a successful sport. We were probably more successful than any program up until baseball came in, and then Czech had his recruits come in, and they started going on their basketball runs and things like that. I think that's a big part of like knowing how long you should stay and things like that. Because if you're not getting the support you need, you can love the game, you can love the school, you can love doing what you do. But if you're not getting the help that you need to make the program as successful as it can be in a very, very competitive setting, which the GSAC now is probably the most competitive conference across the nation.
It was a
I can
bad
easily
time
argue that.
they got those other schools
I
to
mean,
pop up in SoCal.
Five of the 6 teams in the GSAC this year at the end of the season were either ranked or receiving votes in the top 15. Like they're just ridiculous in how good the GSAC is now. I mean, it's California too, majority of the schools, and Arizona has a really big upcoming as well, so they get a good pool of kids there. But when it came to Hope, I mean, it's hard for us to. I'll give them. It's hard because I mean, when Vanguard came in, why wouldn't you want to go to a school that's the same price and it's closer to the beach? You know,
Yeah,
I mean, it's hard. But to answer your question honestly, it's like I think it's time to go when it's like that, or if you're having losing seasons and maybe it's you and you just got to take that reality check of, hey, I want to do right by the school because they've done right for me. I want to do right by the kids, and if they're not winning with me in this position, I want to give them the best opportunity. And maybe it's my coaching style, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, and even at that, I know through the years we've changed a lot of our philosophies. We changed the way we approach the game. We changed the way we practice. We changed the way that what's important.
Right.
Serving pass is always important, but do we want to prioritize blocking? Do we want to prioritize this? Do we just want to spend like an hour and a half on consistent serve receive routes, rotations, things like that? And then it's like the guys' game, right?
Yeah.
Serving tough. Do we serve tough? Do we ace or error? I mean, do we just like balls to the wall, just go after every ball, or do we play the strategic? Hey, let's just keep the ball in play, and it works in both aspects, right? If you have a good serving team, it works there. If not, it's that. But I think you try all your strategies, and if you continue to lose, like changes need to be made, and usually it's administration that makes that. But I think as a coach, as a coach that sees a lot of different things, you can very much see when it's working and when it's not working, and adaptability is everything, right? And like I said, if you love your school, you love the program, then it's always going to be the best thing for them, not just for you. So it's a lot of realization more than anything else, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. Nolan, your thoughts and opinions on when would you feel like it would be a good time to leave if you were in a situation similar to
I mean, speaking at least from my experience, like when I left the high school coaching, one of the big reasons was obviously because the new job was a career job. It was good movement for me in my overall career for the future. But also it got to the point where like I know my area and it's not volleyball inspired per se. So kind of in the same vein, AD wasn't necessarily always looking to assist with the volleyball team. It was either football, wrestling, or baseball, whatever sports he coached or his sons played. You know what I mean? So
of course.
Yeah. Which I don't hold it against him. Volleyball, even when I played there, it was all about fundraising, getting your own jerseys. Your budget is only so much, so you got to use it sparingly for balls or a ball cart, depending on what's in the most need. But yeah, leaving there, for me, in my opinion, there's really kind of two types of coaches. If you're lucky enough to be a mixture of both of them, then that's usually the top tier coaches, college coaches, professional coaches. There's the ones that are good at growing and nurturing new people. And then there's those that are perfect with advanced players and can get them running at advanced levels. I know, like, for example, Shalimar, he coached a little bit with me. He's coached a little bit in the past, but he's always said, like, hey, I'm not here to grow newbies. Like, I can help run a team that's going to be like a ones team that's going to go for, tournament bids or going for medals, something like that. That's my bread and butter. Like, I don't have the patience and time to like teach these new kids like how the ropes go. I was like, that's completely fine. I completely get that. For me, I do enjoy nurturing young guys because my area, when growing up, it was hard to get like a good good knowledgeable coach to kind of take the reins for you. So for me, it was always to try to be that for this area. And main reason I left, it just wasn't fulfilling me both, I guess, personally and financially. Taking the time off the job I had at the time just didn't make sense for me to kind of do that year in and year out anymore. So I got the new job. And then club-wise, in our area, there's really two main clubs. Forza 1 West, which is the one I'm at, and then there's SG Volleyball, which is the one my brother works at. SG gets all the guys, all of them, because they have the money, they have the facilities, they have, not sponsorships, but they have a lot more, and for good reason. They have great coaches there. I have no qualms with any of the coaches or players that end up leaving ours and go there, because a lot of it is you have better opportunities. You guys kind of get better eyesight from, recruiting coaches or things like that as you go further into the tournament. Some guys financially get a lot of aid from them because they can help provide that. So I've always been asked, Nolan, why do you still coach for Forza when your brother's over at SG and can probably set you up with a coaching job on a 2's team and you can move up if you need it? To me, it's like, I know what Forza 1 gets. We get the guys who are passionate, don't have the money, may not have the great skill, but I get an opportunity to teach these kids who love the game rather than the ones who are just going to win day in and day out, which is obviously what we want to do. But they're doing it for a little more individual reasons.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like you have to kind of pick and choose, understand what your mixed basket is. If you know that the area you're in is not going to be giving you success year in and year out as a coach, but it's something that you love to do and you think you're doing a good job there and you can see the difference being made by the start of season, the end of season, I think that you know that you won't move on. But if there is something where deep down you can feel that my time here is done, maybe this school, maybe it's a little better than the school I'm just at, or maybe it's not, but it's an opportunity that I can see myself helping myself grow as well as the players and or program there. Because I think a lot of people kind of get stuck thinking that this is all that they can really go to and they can't move forward, whether it's a lateral movement or it isn't a step up. But those are my points for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's definitely a mixed bag of things when you decide as a coach that it's time to move from place to place. It's never really one reason. You know what I mean? There's always multiple and layers to things and all that stuff. Keone, talk to us about, deciding to leave some of your jobs that you've had to deal with over the years, perhaps one that has a mouse on it, and then go from there.
Well, I mean, that one was purely money. I was like, let's get that off the rip.
Castmate.
Yeah.
It's a cast member.
Place of happiness.
How dare you?
You get free Disney
Get
animation,
out.
man.
Joy.
It's just like, I'm going to remove you from the pod. No, I'm just
The
joking.
children.
But I mean, as far as like the coaching job that I did take on, minus life change type of stuff that obviously takes, precedence over like, my job at that point. I would say for me personally, I'm kind of on that same train that Nolan was on, where I do find myself being more attracted to places where I can kind of help things grow as opposed to it kind of being established and like, just kind of adding another, notch to the old band. For me, myself, I like to kind of build stuff up from the ground up. That's any job. I mean, I'm the type of guy, I don't really like to stay muddled in like the bottom. I usually find myself working up wherever I'm at. So, that's kind of how I see like my parallel for coaching jobs as far as whether or not it's time to leave a program. Because for me personally, if I can get a team to, succeed and really look like a team and, find success in that realm, I think for me, that's a successful venture as opposed to just kind of joining like a story program that, because, for all intents and purposes, my high school was it's a very well-known, program. We're always one of the top athletic programs in Hawaii, and that's in any sport. So for me, coaching there wouldn't really be as appealing as, say, coaching at a smaller school that never really got there yet.
You can say a public school in Hawaii. You can say it. I'm from Hawaii. I'm gonna tell you.
Like if we're keeping it a buck, I mean, like I would rather coach for like my kind of city high school, which is Mililani.
Hey, they're good now.
Coach. Yeah. I mean, but I'm just saying in general, like if that was the case, like I would rather coach a program that's not necessarily in that upper echelon because every single year Kamehameha is, a competitor to win the entire thing all around. So it's not something that I personally feel like
beat them.
Something for me to kind of like go out of my way to, work hard for. Cause I think that, I'd rather kind of take the challenge of like learning with a younger group that's, just kind of getting into it. So, I mean, I've had opportunities like that brought to me before, and I think that's kind of where I was at, because even after what happened with La Mirada, us kind of going undefeated for like a season and then doing really well that second season, it was the same. So I think for me personally, I like the ground up stuff as opposed to kind of just, doing it from the top.
Absolutely. I feel you. I land similarly to most of you. I think when I was younger, I always was down to do more of the advanced stuff. But it wasn't really until it was forced upon me when I took that job at MOBAP as the GA and JV head men's coach that I became aware of like my love for growing a program or just turning something, from nothing. But I will say, I think as I've gotten deeper into my coaching career, that, the amount of energy and wherewithal it takes when you're trying to build something, you know what I mean? Where me having done it once at MOBAP, basically turning it from anybody that breathes gets a scholarship to, no, these are kids that are really disgusting athletes, can play at a college level, but right now just need an extra year to get ready for college speed, and then can actually be in the varsity gym and not be drill killers. You know what I mean? So changing that entire structure and culture took a lot. And then the next job that I take is for a high school in which the district had just split half of my athletic population in the girls' side because they built a new high school. So all the good athletes went over there, all that kind of stuff. So I'm working with, bare bones. And I think, the couple years that I've been there, we've been able to be really, really, really competitive. But there's a weird culture thing there that we just could never kind of get over that hump. It's a weird culture of complacency where like my girls would get in these big moments where our little team was going to upset, a really athletic and good team. And they would get what I would consider scared of success because they knew that that's the standard that I'm going to hold them to. And that means they have to keep working that hard all the time. So that was hard to kind of deal with and all that kind of stuff. So it's a mixed bag. But I think at the end of the day, it's always about what you guys said. Like, how are you feeling? Do you feel like as a coach that you're doing everything that you can do? Is it a good fit for you? Et cetera. And some of that is understanding that good old adage of trusting the process. And that's going to be our second topic here today. And everybody's got their own kind of definitions and such. So Keone, when you hear that term, trust the process, like what does that mean to you specifically?
I mean, it really depends who is running the process. I mean, I'm a team player when it comes to this kind of stuff. I'm not really one to kind of, throw a wrench in the old gears there if there's a plan. And I'm 100% always going to support if I do believe in it. But yeah, I mean, it really depends. It has to be aligned. We have to be aligned in our goals here. So I do think that when it comes to like for instance, like rebuilding a program or for my experience, kind of starting from the ground up with kids who never really were, who never had played volleyball competitively in any sort of way. I think we literally just were pulling in kids from, anywhere we could get them just to try out. Like for me, I do think that it's as long as you have like a set vision, and I give Katrina all the credit in the world. She had an idea of what she wanted her program to be. She had a very clear vision of what the program was going to, eventually become, because it was such a young program and because she hadn't been with the boys program for very long. So having that in my mind definitely helped me kind of trust what she wanted to do, and kind of gave me the tools to kind of do the same thing with the younger team. So yeah, I definitely think it definitely matters who is kind of setting that plan of action. But for me, yeah, I mean, when it came to that specific instance, I mean, as long as I'm on board with what your vision is, I'm 100% going to work through that. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Nolan, when you hear the phrase that we've all heard as coaches and also uttered as coaches 100 times of trusting the process. What does that mean to you?
I think a lot of it has to do with your overall vision, those who are going to be contributing to that vision. If it is in a compromised kind of decision, whether it is someone that's higher up than you that's going to be kind of backing you through that process, or if it is something that you're presenting, like this is how we're going to move forward. When it comes down to the smaller level of the actual team, if you're telling these to your players, trusting the process, sometimes you're breaking habits, right? And it's going to take some time for those new habits to kind of show in a consistent basis. But I always tell my players, you got to draw an arrow backwards before you can let it go forward. So if you're going to do that, understand that if your platform was taught all wrong before you came to my team and I'm trying to help fix it, I am not expecting you for the next month to have perfect passing until we can get you more kind of in sync with that idea, or whether it's hitting technique or something like that. So trusting that process, understanding that it doesn't happen overnight. Forget about your instant gratification. You can't fix it just like that, because whether you like it or not, your body's not going to just immediately the next practice go, yeah, I can do this perfectly, second nature. It's not going to be a worry anymore. No, you're still going to show the bad habits. It's happened every single time. Don't assume that you're the end-all be-all to how to learn a new thing. But then it's also, when you look at big picture, whether it is an AD or if maybe it's a program manager for a club or something like that who just runs the whole show and is looking at you like, how come you're doing it this way? What is the process that you're planning to do with this team or this set of teams? It's like a business, if you have to get them on board with being able to invest and taking that hit first before you actually see kind of residual net growth from it. And I think that if you have a plan, especially like we just talked about moving on to a new program, you go to a new program, sometimes this whole program had only one way of thinking for a very long time, or one way of this is how volleyball should work for a very long time. And sometimes it's one of those where, hey, I think this is going to work better for you, or it's a complete, turnaround saying, you guys were not taught proper volleyball, so this is how this program is going to run. And it's a lot about making sure those who are around you are willing to do that investment and trusting the process that you can get them to normalcy or exceeding that. So that's my thoughts really on that.
Why, have you ever had an experience where you had an athletic director who wasn't aligned with your head coach and then wasn't also... What?
Huh?
We took matters into our own hands and just cut out the middleman of the coaches and just got some new ones.
Gotcha.
That's just me.
That's
it just sounded like you might have had an experience.
It sounded like somebody hurt you.
No. I actually hurt myself at a practice. Fun quick story. We were on the dance floor with like Shane, Chris Penny, Phil Lopez, and I think someone bumped into Shao and he spilled his drink, and then Shao was like laughing about it, and then I was like, wait. This is how I broke my ankle. And Shane's like, fuck, get some towels. Get some towels.
That's incredible. Oh, man. Well, bring it on home for us, Mr. Jared Shirai. What is your definition of trusting the process?
I think I'm kind of like in agreement with the other two, with Keone and Nolan. For me, a lot of it has to do with, of course, like you have to respect and trust the person that's guiding you. Right. And I'll speak about it since Keone wanted to bring it up. My freshman year, your sophomore year, Nolan, and Jalen's freshman year at home. Our coach left us. They brought in another coach. They brought in Tim. Like, we'll just use names already because everybody we're talking about them all the time.
Everybody knows who it is.
Tim came in. He had his own. He had his own philosophy of the game. He had his own. He played at Long Beach State. He won a ring there. He's had very much success in the things that he's done. I'm not gonna undercut him in any way. He just coming off a win with Golden West as well, with Phil Lopez them. And he came in, but because nobody knew him, because we've heard stories about him, because of all these other things, you get your mind twisted in a different way. And when you're taught something new, it's kind of like how Keone said, you're going to fight it in the beginning because it's like, hey, you're going to fight the process. And I'll say it, I fought it 110%.
Oh yeah, I think we all.
I've
did
been
for a
around.
while.
I mean, I've been around the game for so long. I was a 30-year-old freshman. I knew what I was doing. Like I knew how to play defense. I came from Hawaii, and that's what we did. Okay. Yeah. We'll get to that later. No, but him coming in and teaching a defense where I was not allowed to read, or not allowed to make moves, not allowed to do a lot of things, really got under my skin. And it's probably the reason why I didn't start my freshman year. It's probably the reason why I didn't start my sophomore year. But I did learn through the years that, through those 2 years, that after trusting him and seeing how it works, I was very adamant to the younger players, like my sophomore year especially. Whoever came in as a libero, whoever I was helping train, and whoever played left back defense, basically, I was like, trust the process, like trust what it is. I did it in the beginning, and but there's a reason for it. Listen to what he has to say, and of course, if you see him read and you're gonna get a dig, he won't yell at you. But just know that if you get burned, and you get burned bad, like he'll come after you with it. And then you come out, and I come out. I used to come out. I was like, "Sorry, Tim, made bad read. My bad." Like no joke. But it's like he's like, "Hey, you made a play. You made a dig. Like I get it." And I was like, "Yeah, but I need to be more disciplined." Like it was a two-way street. But trusting the process in the beginning for me was just about. I think I didn't respect the fact in a sense because I wasn't recruited by this guy. So I don't think he had any. I don't think he had any knowledge of who I was, what I could do, and when he asked me, he sent him a text message, right? What position do you want to fight for? I did not put libero. I said I wanted to set and I wanted to play outside. That was the two things that I told him. And I said I was recruited as a libero, so I would put it as a third choice. But I'm telling you that I could play these other positions. And I think that's how I got a little bit respect from him knowing that I was older, and then he kind of got to see us in the gym. Yeah. But I mean, it's that give and take, right? You have to gain respect from your superiors and in order to give it as well, especially as you get older. I know for Keone, I think it's going to be it's hard because you're coaching adults, right? I mean, granted, you are the volleyball like you're the volleyball guy for them, right? They never played and whatever. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, dude, I'm a grown ass man. I can do this. It's like I know exactly. I know exactly what they're saying, and I think for me, like when I was in that position, I was that guy. So, but it's just I came from a big volleyball background as well. So, I mean, trusting the process is all about just buying in, doing what's best for the team, being the best teammate. If you don't like it, I hate to say this, but there's a door. Don't let it hit you on the way out because you're not trying to buy into the culture. You're not. We're doing it at Olu right now. With my JV team, I was like, you guys can buy in and I can help you get to the varsity level because I've been coaching with Henry for God knows how long. And I know what he wants. I know what he expects. I know the system that you need to be in, and I know what he's looking for. So if you listen to me now, there's a good chance he may take you on the varsity next year because you're coachable, because you're bought in, because you do the things that he's looking for. But if you don't want to listen and you're just going to hear for a good time and you're going to be a distraction, I was like, there's a door, guys. Like, I love you guys. I want to teach you. I love growing new players, but don't hurt the other people around it. Like, trust the process that I'm giving you because it'll get you to where you want to get to as a varsity player. So I think for me, that's a lot of it.
Fire right there.
Absolutely fire. I do recall that whole process of I don't remember like what day it was, but I remember Matt, lefty Matt, not
Hansen.
Yeah, Hansen. Like we all did that like player meeting because we were like, I think it was only like 3 or 4 weeks in, and we were all just fucking over the new stuff.
That was
from
the Mama
Tim
Tree
and Mike.
Led one, right?
I think something.
I think that's the year Mama Tree was like, hey, we need to have a player without the coaches meeting.
We did.
I think it was that.
And I think we talked about literally all those things in there, like, and we almost unified and went to the process, like, out of spite of Tim, but like understanding we are all competitive as shit and wanted to win and be in that top 4. So like, it was a weird process, but then once we all kind of just started doing it, the entire team played better because we were just doing exactly what, the system was. Like you said, it's just buying into that kind of thing. So, but when it comes to like how I tend to define, trusting the process, it kind of comes linearly in this fashion of just understanding in order to really trust the process, you have to understand where you are in order to get to where you're going. That's just kind of how I see things. So it's understanding like, hey, right now this team, at the beginning of the season, let's say we have all these problems. Maybe we don't execute and transition well. Maybe we don't block very well. That's fine, but we got to understand that going into these games as we get through this early part of the season and work on, hey, do we block better this game? Yes, great. Then that's a victory. That's a step forward. Hey, we suck in transition. Did we get more free ball turnarounds in this game? Yes, great. Win, lose, or draw, it doesn't matter because we made a progress step forward. Like that's how you can kind of understand seeing that avenue. And I've been really fortunate, at least with the boys that I had, getting them so young, and making them sit and watch a senior group that wasn't, was more resistant to that process, kind of like we all were. Mm-hmm. I think that was the biggest thing. I think had they all been juniors, I don't know if we're having as good of a season as we're having right now. I think the fact that they were so young and I got most of them in my gym, despite, some pushback from my assistants of like, why are you taking so many sophomores up on, on varsity and all this stuff? I'm like, just let it go. Just believe, because that was COVID screwed us, man. Like we had, it's just that weird year, that 2020 getting deleted. Essentially, I didn't have a junior class last year. So that's just how that works. And most high schools can agree. So you come in and you have what should be basically a JV team having to play up and be your varsity bench. And so they had to go into sophomores and play in some really big moments, but we're seeing the dividends now, right? Like all that experience, all that, stuff that we kind of went through. And then, me making them sit at districts and watching that senior group lose, just to get them to understand, like, you can't do what they did and then expect to just walk on the floor and win. You know what I'm saying? So like, it all kind of melds together at the end of the day, but that is trusting the process, at least in my regard. You have to understand exactly where you are whenever you start anything to get to where you want to go. So
I think for me, I love how you put it like that, but I think for me, a big part of trusting the process is having a coaching staff that's on board with you.
Yes.
Like, so for
Huge.
you as a head coach, like Henry as a head coach, as a vision, like if your assistants are like undermining you or they're looking at other things and they really question you 90% of the time, they're not on board with you. And the kids are going to see the fights or the disagreements or the why is he doing. I was like, and I tell them, like, kids ask me sometimes, I was like, it's Henry's program and whatever he wants, I'm there. And I know like why he's doing it for in certain parts, and then there's sometimes where I'm like, I don't know, but it's like I ask him later and he just gives me a straight answer. But I'm never gonna look at him and be like, why the hell are you doing that? Like, that's stupid. No, I'm gonna be like, hey, you have your reasons for this. I got you. Like, the boys want to fight with it, I got you. Yeah. I'll make sure that either you buy in and you understand what he's saying and why he's doing this, or you can go over there and you're never gonna see the court anyway. Enjoy the bench because that's probably the only place you're ever gonna be. Yeah, but I think that's a lot of it for you. Like you having assistants that kind of like why are you doing this or why are you taking this? Like, you have the vision. It's your team. It's your program. You got hired. I got hired by you, so I should respect the reasons of why you're doing it. And then if I have questions, I'll ask you in a closed door setting. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, exactly. Don't undermine your head coach. I mean, that's the hardest thing in it.
Being a head coach, because for club, depending on the situations you're in for each season, you're not always going to have like the same assistant or the person who's coaching next to you on the bench. And I feel like a lot of the time, for me at least, I wouldn't say it's like a test question, but if I already know what thought process I'm going to go with for, maybe I want to run this rotation for this or this, I'll go to him like right before the next set, say, hey, what do you think if we move around things? Well, what would you want to move right now? Yeah. And if you get a feel for it, you see if they kind of have the same vision that you're looking at.
If they're on the same page as you. Or
exactly. You don't want to just
like, hey, say, Nolan, it's your team, bro. If you want to do this, like, I got you,
Yeah, and then you can kind of gauge, at least understanding maybe there are some things that we will agree with, and maybe he sees things completely differently than me, or, whatever it may be for the future. At least you have a little bit more of a foundation to kind of have that conversation after that.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And it's interesting to at least hear you guys' takes on that, because I 100%, if you don't have it, like, if you're a coach that's listening and maybe you're in this position, if you don't have a staff that isn't going to at least support you through what your vision is, that's going to be a big hurdle that you have to get over. So it's either you got to have that dialogue with everybody on board and make sure everybody top to bottom. Like if you're a varsity head coach, that means your freshman coach knows exactly what trajectory all your players are going to go on when they go from freshman to JV to varsity, and all that kind of stuff. Because I totally agree. I think having that assistant is big, and I'm kind of in a weird spot where it's like you ask those questions to see if they're on the same vibe, but you also have to have a job sometimes as a head coach to like mentor and tutor your assistant coaches. So some of it, for me at least, when I ask those questions of like, what do you want to do right now? I'm never going to like push back on if they have a completely different lineup than me, because that's part of me trying to teach them like how to grow. Now they come to me with something that I know is not going to work. I'm going to be like, well,
you shut it down really quick.
Let's say, hold on. Let's back it up a little bit, and you run me through what you were thinking there. Let's just go with that and see how you kind of saw that. And I'll tell you like, okay, this is, we got to think about this, that, and the other, all that kind of stuff. Which is always a fun experience, but at the end of the day, it's all learning. It's all good stuff. And we all love what we're doing for a reason. It's fun. It's good stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's going to do it for us today on Team Huddle.
You'll get that.
Well, you get to drink on the job at yours, all right? You're cheating at all of us. Are you kidding me? You get the best one out of the bunch, man. Come on.
Yeah, when I'm tired of my players, I just, Chris.
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, we got to wait, drive home, make sure all the lights are off so no one sees us, change out of our uniform, and then we can finally go. Jesus.
You guys drink?
You're right. Good call.
I eat my feelings away.
Thank God there's not In-N-Out by here, because I would have been on 600 and helpless or whatever that show
telling
is.
me, Jay.
I'd have been eating the feels away. Woo, Lord have mercy. But
We'll send you some In-N-Out hats.
thank you.
No, they're not in Vegas,
Nice
bro.
and fresh.
Oh yeah,
you
there's
get it in
In-N-Out
Vegas.
You get it in Vegas.
You guys carve out the time and the energy needed, and like make sure I don't die. Sure.
I got Red Bulls. Guys.
Wait! Is this you confirming you'll make the
You
trip?
said sure.
No.
You said sure. You said
You
sure.
just said it.
You just said it. Hey,
Can't take it back.
put it.
All right.
Put it.
Well, before I get scammed, everyone, this
You
has been
heard it here on
Team
the
Huddle.
pod.
You can catch us online at various social media platforms. Jared, where can they find you?
I am on Instagram and Twitch at JShirai, JSHIRAI, and on Twitter at JShirai808.
Keone, Drunk Coach of the Year.
You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch at K-O-N-E. That's KAYOHKNEE.
And Mr. Nolan Chang.
You guys can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch at NolanKYT, NOLANKYT.
Wonderful. And I'm Jalen Holston. You can find me on Twitter at Jalen Holston, Instagram at ArtByJalen, and Twitch at MochaThanos_LGG. We'll be back next week with some more Team Huddle, some more volleyball stuff, and hopefully our first guest of the podcast. So stay tuned. Keep an eye out. We'll let you know. Have a good one, everybody. Good vibes and love.
Good vibes and love, everybody.
Bang, bang.
Shoots, guys.